it's not until you really learn the way that the body is developed and you learn anatomy that you really find out what fitness is, right? So at that point in time, to take it back, is I thought health was being like jacked and fit. The main goal of this book is to make somebody as resilient as possible, right? We live in a society where everything is toxic around us. Use it when your body demands it from the sense of performance, right? Because if you get enough sleep, your body doesn't really need it. You know what I'm saying? But people use it as a crutch. What you're doing with caffeine is that you're stealing tomorrow's time for today. We're not designed to be stuck in a seat for 12 hours. We're not even designed to be standing up that long either, right? We're supposed to be alternating. We're supposed to be constantly moving. It's the philosophy of life, right? Wow. The more motion that there is in life, the healthier it is.
I don't trust myself after all the pain I've held. I know myself too well, been in and out of hell.
Welcome back, folks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Another week, another episode, another podcast. I've said it a bunch of times already. When I first started this, naturally you have goals, you have an end game, and you have dream guests, you know, or like when you're a musician, you think of dream people you'd want to make music with. And immediately, you know, with the podcast, you know, I still have dream guests, and I'm going down the list. You know, I got Hove, Glassman, the podcasting GOAT, Rogan one day, Trump. Those are all big, great guests. But one of the people that I've always wanted to do, a personal friend of mine, got so much going for him. I'm so proud of everything he's done, and we're going to get into that today. My boy, Dr. Denis Chang in the building.
Thank you, bro. Dude, honestly, I'm honored. That was a crazy intro. I was not expecting that. Wow. Dude, my boy.
Bro.
Since high school. Dude, this guy has had my back since high school. I don't even know if I should bring up the whole
whatever
fight situation.
Whatever you want to bring up is your
but
show,
dude,
is your episode.
This guy has had my back, like literally, fights, everything, bro.
Forever,
always supporting me, giving me the coolest nicknames.
All
right. So what do you have for me, brother?
So much, bro. We're going to get into a lot, dude. I'm just, thank you, man. Thank you for turning out the way you've been, bro. You just make me very proud to be able to call you a friend, man.
Yeah.
It's a huge honor. But here on the Heir Cast, we like to start with the important questions because the fans, the people, the Air Force, the world, everybody wants to know, what is the chiropractic philosophy?
All right. So basically when someone first hears about chiropractic, the first thing they think about is either the cracking or the neck and lower back pain, right? But in reality, it's a little bit more than that. It's a lot deeper than that. And it's basically what we're doing is we're working on the nervous system. So perfect.
Right. Okay.
So the nervous system is what connects the brain to the rest of the body.
Say that again, Pop? And in medio. But it's just when it cuts to us, you feel me? Okay.
Yeah, it's good like that.
You think so? Okay.
We got to warm it up. Let me adjust it real quick.
Yeah. Get it. It's a fresh copy. Fresh copy. Fresh out the warehouse. All right, so bring it back.
So basically what we're doing as chiropractors is that we're trying to find interference within the body, right? The body's natural ability is to repair itself, to re-heal, to self-maintain and everything. But we lose that from all the interferences, from all the toxins, all the stresses that we live on a day-to-day life. Whether it's physical, chemical, or emotional stress, all those things, they weigh down the body. They change the biomechanics of the body, the biochemistry of the body, right?
Can we explain, give an example of what a physical, chemical, and an emotional stress is?
Okay, so a physical stress would be being stuck in a seated position for too long. So she was telling me that she sits is it a cubicle or what?
An ergonomic chair.
An ergonomic chair. Oh, at least she has the ergonomic chair. So that's a little bit better suited for her back, right? But you're still in a seated position for 12 hours.
Unnatural.
Right? Unnatural. We're not designed to be stuck in a seat for 12 hours. We're not even designed to be standing up that long either, right? We're supposed to be alternating. We're supposed to be constantly moving. It's the philosophy of life, right?
Wow.
The more motion that there is in life, the healthier it is for all the interactions and everything, right? So if you look at something that's stagnant, it either has disease or it just doesn't have a lot of life, right? Mm-hmm. So when a river is stagnant, all the ecosystem of it dies because there's no proper motion, right? It needs to be an ecosystem. Everything has to be constantly moving. It's the cycle of life. And it's the same thing with us. Like, we need to be constantly moving positions and exploring different ranges of motion within all the joints. So to answer your question, a physical stress is a repetitive stress, right? being stuck in a position for so long, or driving with one arm like this the whole time, or being seated on one side more than the other, right? Things like that. Then there is more of an acute physical stress, which is a car accident. Like that's right on the spot. Like that will change your biomechanics on the spot,
Specific.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, like a car accident, right?
Yeah.
So that's the physical. We could get into the emotional, right? And the reason why the emotional is so important, and we don't really talk about this, especially in our society, is that the body always keeps the score, right? So the emotions, I don't know if you've ever seen on Instagram, there's pictures of like studies where it shows the thermography of people's emotions, right? So depending on the
temperature,
way, the temperature, yeah, the
yes.
thermography, right?
Yes.
So the temperature, but you see it on like a diagram, and it shows the person's anatomy, like the body, and some spots will be more cold than the other. Some spots might be a little bit more like red than the other.
What's an example of a spot that would get hot?
It depends on the emotion that you have,
okay,
right? So the emotions of your body. So when you're depressed, right, your whole body feels more cold,
Yeah.
right? So that's more of an emotional stress. You get what I'm saying? So the emotional stress the reason why it's so important is because your body will adapt from that. So think of somebody that's depressed. What do you imagine their body posture to be like?
Slouching, sad, hunchback.
Right. So then
Head
that
down.
translates into the physical stress, right? Because you're stuck in that position for X amount of time now, right? And then what happens is that when you're stuck in that position, right, all the spine will adapt to that. But it may not be a healthy adaptation. It might be a negative one. It may put more stress on one of the nerves in your spine that later down the road cuts off a circulation and nerve flow to an important organ in the body, right? And if we could like pull up an anatomy diagram of the spine, you'll see how the brain is connected to the body by the nervous system. It's like a highway of communication from the brain to the body. If you look at the book, right, you see how the brain is up here, and then you see all these nerves right down here.
Like an interstate.
It's like an interstate, right?
Yeah.
So your brain is constantly sending signals and information and conductivity to parts of your body, right? But the cool thing is that it does it automatically. It's like the best type of AI that you could think of, right? You don't. It's already programmed in us for our body to.
We're designed that way.
We're designed that way.
Crazy.
And that's why it's important to take care of yourself, because doctors I wouldn't say all doctors, right? But medical doctors, right? They're known for giving medication and surgeries and stuff like that, when in reality, you could just be a little bit more conservative, right? And just try to get to the root cause of the problem instead of just trying to hide the symptoms, right?
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what medication is.
Relieve the problem, don't
yeah.
fix the problem. It's a huge difference.
Right. And I'm not against medical doctors by any means. Like there's a time and a place for them, right? Emergency care. But if it's a chronic issue, right? You want to do lifestyle habits that led you to that chronic issue to begin with, right? And that's what I talk about in the book. It's the pillars of life in order for you to be as healthy as possible. And chiropractic is one of them. And then to go back on your question, so there's physical, chemical, and emotional stress. We touched on the physical, and we touched on the emotional.
What would chemical stress be?
Chemical stress, what we consume. So
Diet.
Yep, our diet. So our body breaks down the food, and it breaks it down into little substances, right? That turns into chemicals in the body, and they're basically like messengers in the body that like go to certain areas. For example, protein could also be a messenger, like between the immune system. So if you don't have enough protein, you may have a low immune system, right? Or if you don't have enough protein, you may not be able to build up muscle if you're going to the gym and stuff like that. So it all depends. But basically, it's like the raw material that your body needs in order to reconstruct itself, right?
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that the brain is already wired to do that. But what happens is that, like I said earlier, we live in that society where everything is toxic around us. And those toxic things, they create interferences in our life, physical, chemical, and emotional interference. Right? So as chiropractors, to bring it all back, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find where those interferences lie, right? From an adjusting standpoint, I'm fixing more of the physical. Sometimes, depending on the person, if they hold a lot of emotional stress in certain areas, you could see them like cry after an adjustment because they've had all that stored emotional stress locked in, right? And like that's the beautiful part about chiropractic and why I fell in love with it is because of the impact that I have with my hands. But in reality, it's not really so much me. Like I'm the one facilitating it, right? I'm the one removing the interference, but the body is so powerful that it does it itself once that interference is gone.
You're just helping it do its thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're just facilitating.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's an incredible answer. So that kind of goes to the next question. Why is the spine the center engine of the entire body?
Like I said, it's the highway. It's the communication highway.
Connected.
Yep. Everything is connected. In order for your hand to do this right now, your brain has to send that signal down the spinal cord, which is in-house within the spine, right?
Wow.
And then you have nerves that exit out, kind of like those roots right there. And then it sends that information to my hand to do this, right? It doesn't do it through Wi-Fi. It doesn't. It's not Bluetooth connected. It's not Wi-Fi.
The old school way.
It's wired. Exactly.
Yeah, the old school way.
And yeah,
wow,
that's exactly.
Great
why.
analogy. That the Wi-Fi Bluetooth things are a great way to put it. Okay, and then now I want you to get into this story a little bit. What actually prompted you? Because you were young when you got your first adjustment by Dr. Zev, right?
Yeah, Dr. Zev.
High school, right?
The GOAT. Right out of high school, 19 years old. I didn't know what the chiropractic was. I remember like driving around and always seeing chiropractic in every freaking plaza and corner. And I would always ask myself, like, what the fuck is a chiropractor?
So to give the audience context, at this time, you're pursuing fitness, but in a different sense.
Yeah, well, what I perceive to be fitness, right? Because we all have a different perception, and it's not until you really learn the way that the body is developed and you learn anatomy that you really find out what fitness is, right? So at that point in time, to take it back, is I thought health was being like jacked and fit. There was a point in time that I was weighing like 230 pounds, and I was like dieseled out. I weigh 185 to put that in reference right now. Yeah. Wow. So imagine, what is that? Like almost 50 pounds, right? Yeah. 40 to 50 pounds.
Huge swing.
So that's a big drastic difference. And dude, I thought I was doing everything right. I was working out twice a day, barely sleeping, but I didn't really think that was a big factor in health, right? But I was trying to pursue like that bodybuilder look, that more of the aesthetics type of look, right? That you see people going to the gym for. And I thought that was the pinnacle of health. So,
so that's where you were at the time. And then is there an injury? Is there a moment that prompts you, yo, let me see a chiropractor? What brings you to Dr. Zev?
Yeah. So indirectly, you remember Buddy from high school?
Yeah. Buddy from Goldman.
Yeah. So he was an assistant for Dr. Zev, and I was at a house party one time, and he was telling me, like, I told him that I was missing a trap muscle in my back, right? But it was congenital. Like, I was born without it. I came to find that out later on down the road, right? But it was in my back, so I thought it was connected with a chiropractor based off what he was telling me.
You're missing an actual trap or a muscle in your trap?
So the trap has 3 divisions. It has the upper trap, the middle trap, and the lower trapezius, right?
Put a little.
Yeah. So the lower trapezius, I'm missing it, but it's congenital, meaning that I was born without that part. And I've done like all types of rehabs, all different types of functional training to try to like reestablish the connection between my brain and that muscle, and that's missing, but there's no connection there. So that tells me that it's a congenital thing.
That's crazy. I'm trying to. I mean, I don't have earlobes, but that's.
I'll show you guys. I'll show you guys in the.
That's great. Yeah, we could take pictures.
I got you. It looks crazy, dude. And it's not something that somebody sees from the outside in very easily.
You have to point it out to them.
Yeah, you have to point it out.
I've never noticed it. We've worked out. We've played sports.
Yeah,
together.
and the reason why it's important though, from a functional standpoint, is that that muscle is responsible for keeping your shoulder girdle and your scapula placed back like this. So you'll notice that my left shoulder rocks a little bit more forward. And no matter how many times you adjust this shoulder, like, it's not going to go back into place. It's because that muscle is responsible for keeping it back, like pulling that shoulder.
Compensating for the missing muscle.
Right? Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And then my upper traps, even when I'm doing like back movements, it gets more of that pressure and that compression because it's taking that load that otherwise that lower trapezius would have.
So you're in a house party telling Buddy about this pain, and he's telling you, wow, I work for a doctor.
Yeah, and he's telling me, he's like, he doesn't have like an in-depth explanation
of
what it is,
okay.
But he has a general sense,
right?
He
points you the direction.
He points me in the direction. He's like telling me about the nerves and stuff like that. And at this point, I'm pursuing the bodybuilder stuff and like the personal training, so I understand a little bit, right? So I go to the doctor's office, and it was crazy because he explained the same thing more in depth that Buddy was telling me. But it wasn't until I felt the adjustment that like my whole life just fucking altered right there.
What were one of the noticeable things, the first noticeable things when you say your whole life adjusted, when things changed for you? What's something you think back like, oh, wow, this is different?
Right. So one of the first things that I felt immediately that was from a sensory standpoint was my breathing, right? Like I didn't have any issues with my breathing, but it's like you don't know what normal is, or you don't know what normal is until you experience it.
Yes.
Right? So I didn't feel like I had any breathing issues at the time, but as soon as I got that adjustment, I felt my airways just like expand, took a big deep breath, and it just felt like I was super saturated with oxygen at that point in time. And like that goes back to what I was telling you, like your senses get heightened.
I'm realizing that now. Context for everybody, I just got adjusted for the first time in my life before we started rolling, and I did feel the visual and a little bit of the audio, but right now I've been dealing with breathing problems for a bit, and it's less work now for me to get a profound breath. That is crazy. Wow, it's all connected. It's all connected,
bro. The whole body is connected, and that's why it's important not to try to isolate things and try to trick or treat the symptom, right? You want to look at the whole body as a whole because it's working together. Right? But if you try to cut off one part, then everything else has to compensate for it. If you take medication because, let's say, you injured your ankle, right? And then you numb that pain, but then you're still working out or you're still doing some sort of movement, you're numbing the symptoms of it, you're numbing the sensation of it, but the injury is still there.
Yeah.
And you're gonna even further injure it.
If anything, doing more damage than help, because in the long term it's just going to be worse pain, and you'll probably aggravate other things because your body starts overcompensating in different ways. Crazy. So okay, and then you did the Back to Human podcast. Shout out to what's the name of the host for the podcast? Chris?
No. The things that I know him from his wife. But
okay.
Yeah, we'll
Back
plug
to
it in
podcast.
there.
It's a great episode. It's out now. But you made a crazy analogy to on that episode, in that conversation. The first time you got adjusted, it felt like the first time you did testosterone.
Yeah.
What does that feel
like?
His
name is James, by the way.
James. Shout out James. If you're listening, we know you are. Right here. Back to Human podcast. Cool pod.
What was the question?
I've never done testosterone. I've yet to do anabolic steroids. You know, one time I tried like anavars to kind of cut down on weight.
Yeah.
Terrible. I didn't do it correctly either, so I don't know how that feels. I guess, is it like when I get with a Red Bull, when I drink a Red Bull and I'm like, oh, this is that's what you feel when you
dude. So I mean, I was sauced up on it. I would take of like 500 milligrams of freaking test in one shot, like an
and
idiot.
that's more than like what normal people would take in a cycle.
As you start to like learn about the body and what the chemistry of testosterone is and stuff like that, you'll notice that you don't really need that much in order to get the effects of it, right?
Yeah, but I was taking more. Yeah.
So what happens is that when you overexceed that certain point, when you overdose, it converts into estrogen in the body.
So that's why people get the boobs and stuff, right? That's where that comes
from? Yep. And they get the mood swings and everything because they're taking too much, so the body is trying to dish it out and just convert it into different things in order to not make it toxic for the body.
But on the positive flip, like, what's like the energy that is that a real thing?
Oh, dude, yeah,
like a roid rage or whatever? Like, it's like
maybe it's placebo, but from my experience, I remember.
So it's not even.
No, it could be placebo, but from my experience, I felt like I did get more energy out of it. You do get a rise in blood pressure and stuff like that. Like here's the thing about steroids is that there's a time and a place for it, right?
Agreed.
And it's just going to heighten whatever your lifestyle factors are, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have a shitty diet, if you have poor sleep schedule, if you train like a fucking dickhead, it's just going to heighten that.
Yeah.
It's going to make you look sloppy as shit, right? But if you have everything dialed in, if you sleep 8 to 9 hours a night in order to recover from the damage that you're putting on your body, right? If you have the proper raw materials from the nutrition that you're eating, from the building blocks that you're getting from protein, right? It's going to be able to, absorb that a little bit better. And if you're using the right functional movements, then you're going to look solid. And you're going to perform at a solid level. Right. You know what I'm saying?
So there's a science, there's a real feeling, there's a truth to feeling extra.
Yeah. That's why you see all these people in high elite, like they'll be juiced up and they have pimples everywhere because they eat like kids.
No, and the transition's crazy, man. Going to the same gym for multiple years, already you see people go through not just cycles of roids, but cycles in life where they're one person one day, and then a couple months later they look like their little brother, and it's like, yo, there's no way it's the same guy. You guys are related.
Yo,
right?
I went through that. I lost like 20 pounds off like when I came off the juice like the first time, because one, I didn't know how to cycle off, and two, I was just. It wasn't. Here's the thing: is that people have to make it a habit first of being consistent in the gym, having everything dialed in before they even get on juice.
Exactly, it's a lifestyle. It's similar to everything in life. It's the foundation. You have to have a foundation set up in order to do anything extra on top of that. And at the end of the day, it's an external thing. Like it's it's something we don't have to get. We're outsourcing that. There's healthy, natural ways to get that energy, to get that feeling. You could get adjusted. You could get supplements. All kinds of the natural supplements. Which I do want to ask you, and since we're kind of all over the place right now with the conversation, what's your daily intake with supplements look like? Are you taking vitamins? What's
so it varies. Right now I'm in a phase of my life where I'm so focused on like opening up the office and stuff like that, where I don't have all my supplements dialed in. And in reality, like this is the time to actually have all those supplements.
To make things easier.
Yeah, to make it easier. But I'm just like so head focused on opening up my office that I'm just like focusing on just food right now.
So in a perfect world, when you are back in regular schedule program, what do you want that regimen to kind of look like as far as taking supplements?
So I talk about it in the book. I have there's a section all the way in the back when it talks about supplements and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Which supplements actually have all the science behind it. Like creatine is the number one, aside from caffeine, is the number one ergogenic aid that's been studied, and it shows like positive effects. Great. As a matter, before anybody gets on steroids, like that should be
creatine's one. I tried it for the first time last year, right before I got my bunion edited.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, and you have to be consistent. You have to. But here's the thing: is that it started off more of like a mental thing, like more for mental clarity, more for the brain itself.
That's because what it helped with most.
Yeah, because the brain has creatine stores in it, right? People think that it's just the muscles and the water and this and that. In reality, it's more for the energy production. Like if you look at what creatine is, it's ATP, which is the molecule of the body of energy, right? So, I mean, now it's not going to get you cracked out like caffeine, right? But if you're deficient in it, it's definitely going to help you out. And
I like how you said caffeine too, because I feel like there's a stigma behind caffeine where people think it's bad for you. But I recently learned from like listening to like people like Andrew Huberman, where they say caffeine's actually incredibly good for you.
Yeah.
If you're taking it straight up, black, if you're not taking it right when you wake up, delay it about an hour or two after you wake up. I started doing that now, and I see a huge difference in not drinking.
Yeah. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you eat something first, and this doesn't apply to everybody.
Food first.
Yeah, because remember, everybody's chemistry is completely different, right? But for people that have a little bit more of like a cortisol response, so cortisol is basically the most famous stress hormone that people talk about, right? Whenever you're stressed out, your cortisol will raise up, right? And that just causes stress and damage to the whole entire body. But what you want to do is you want to eat something first, specifically protein, because that's going to blunt the effects of cortisol and that stress production. And it's just going to allow it to just like be more sustainable. So you don't get like a sharp increase of stress and then you get a sharp crash right after.
Balances it. It makes it more realistic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the thing with caffeine.
And so it's kind of like with vitamins too, like because when COVID first kind of swung into effect, I started taking more things into account and taking my health into account, because at first I wasn't going to the gym. I had to work out at home, and I was like, all right, maybe my diet and nutrition and taking vitamins, things like that.
Yeah.
And I would get sick because I wasn't eating, because I'd be fasting for a long time. So I would take all these crazy amounts of vitamins, and I would start throwing up. I didn't understand. I would just get
Did
nauseous.
you have zinc? Did you
have
zinc
in
it?
Zinc, of course.
So that right there will fuck
That's
you
my
up.
daily regimen. I'll take C, because I'm not eating as much fruit. If I'm eating more fruit, I'll take less C, vitamin C.
Yeah.
I'll take zinc. I'll take some magnesium, some biotin.
Yeah.
I'll take E, and then D3.
Yeah, and that's all solid. That's all solid. Those are all foundational supplements.
Right.
The thing that I want people to take away from this is that, one, before you even get into the supplements, like food needs to be your foundation, because we could grab all those nutrients from food, right?
Right. If you're eating right.
If you're eating right, you don't need a supplement.
vitamins.
A supplement is exactly what it is.
Facts.
Like it's just that extra layer of protection on top.
Yes.
Right. But if you have all the foundation set properly, you don't need supplements, right? Now, I mean, vegans definitely need supplements. Don't get me wrong. Like, they for sure need supplements because they're missing vital nutrients, right? And there's other diets out there that are missing nutrients, but vegan is one of the most prominent ones.
There's always going to be deficiency somewhere, but there's a bigger
I think if you eat a nose to tail diet from a carnivore, nose to tail diet, right, nose to tail diet, like eating all the entire animal, all the organs, all the tissues of the animal. It's going to provide you with all the nutrients that you need, but then you also need fruits and stuff like that.
Is that a vertical diet?
So the vertical diet is more for performance. There's a little bit of a variation to it. So the whole thing about the vertical diet is more for people that want performance. And it's the foundation of it is steak and rice, right? Because you want to get calories, right? When you're performing. It
incorporates calories in it.
Yeah. So the whole purpose is for you to be able to perform. And in order for you to perform, you need to have that energy.
Calories
is energy,
you need
right?
Energy, exactly.
So basically what they do is they have the foundation, which is steak for the protein, right? Because you need to recover from breaking down the muscle tissue. And then you need the carbs for the energy, right? And then on top of that, you have all the micronutrients, like all the vegetables and fruits and stuff like that. But they pick out the specific fruits that are commonly known to agitate people's stomach, or people that are a little bit more sensitive.
Take that out of the diet, or they're eating that specifically?
No, they're eating the foods
that
are more friendly towards people's guts.
So they're taking those things out when you say they take them out of the diet. Okay, got it. Cool. So walk me through your daily diet as far as like, or what you're, how many times you're eating. I'd like to know like the type of, like, are you doing this right now with the rice, incorporating the rice for performance?
So I'm always experimenting. There'll be a season of time where like I stick to one thing and it works for me really great, but then something changes in my life which throws a variable into my eating habit, and then I have to change things up based off of that thing. Right now what I'm currently doing is that I'm waking up and I'm doing a healthy café con leche.
Okay, what's a healthy? What makes it healthy? So
I get raw milk straight from Southwest Farmers Market. Shout out to them. They have the best raw milk, right? So raw milk, maple syrup, which I know sounds strange.
Okay, this is interesting.
And then depending on how much stimulation I've had from caffeine and stuff like that, I'll either do like an instant decaf or an instant full caffeine one. Yeah, depending on what it is. I always fluctuate. The thing is that I try not to get hooked on caffeine too much, because at the end of the day, it's a drug.
Exactly.
You know?
Outsource it. Only use it when you need it.
Use it when you need it. Use it when your body demands it from the sense of performance, right? Because if you get enough sleep, your body doesn't really need it. You know what I'm saying? But people use it as a crutch. What you're doing with caffeine is that you're stealing tomorrow's time for today, if that makes sense.
Wow, great way to put it. You're stealing tomorrow's time for today. Yeah, because
you're deficient in energy today.
You're gonna pay that price eventually.
Yep, and you're gonna steal that energy from tomorrow, because if you don't have coffee, you're gonna feel it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Usually people like get headaches right then and there, like the day after, when they don't have coffee, and they start flipping out. But one of the things about Celsius is that it has cyanocobalamin, which is B12, but it's the synthetic version. Right? So if you break down that word, cyanocobalamin, right? That's a molecule structure of B12. Cyano stands for cyanide. And I'm sure you guys know what cyanide is.
Not good.
Which is not good, right?
If you're listening at home.
So when it's connected to the cobalamin, right? It doesn't make it as harmful, but it's still a toxic ingredient, right?
Yeah.
So it gets stored in your tissues, and that's the issue.
Why do they include it then?
Because it's not regulated. Yeah, it's all money at the end of the day.
It's a shade. Yeah, it's a gray area.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of gray areas, I want to get into the pre-workout conversation because I am a sicko when it comes to this. Like, not that I take pre-workout. I'll have a long day, work a 12-hour shift, and then all I need to do is hear the right song, maybe write a verse, maybe finish editing a podcast. Something's going to stimulate me mentally, and that's it. I got the boost of energy I need. I just got to get in my car and get to the gym. And then when I'm in there, it's
go time.
It's go time.
Yeah.
I have so many people I work out with that they can't do it until they take the pre-workout, and then they take the pre-workout, and then an hour into the workout they're throwing up, they feel sick, they're like, oh no, it's cracked out, and it's like, what's going on with this? Like, why is it misinformation? Do you think is
so there's multiple things, right? We could go from multiple angles. So one is that you're creating that habit of just doing it,
the crutch. That's why
that crutch, but it's more of like like a pattern. Our body works on patterns, right? Our body adapts to patterns. And the more frequent we do something, the more it becomes a habit. Like that's the science behind habits, right? It's just the more you do it, your body adapts to it. So people are getting adapted to starting their routine with taking the pre-workout and then going off the walls to work out, right? So that's one thing. From a chemical standpoint, it's becoming addictive because it's ingredients that your body gets addicted to.
Are there long-term studies on what this does to people long-term? Because I just don't see how it's healthy. It's normal for you. Like it's like, and people take it like it's okay. Like it's like creatine. People are taking it. No, this is a part of my everyday routine. And then, oh yeah, but I can't sleep. I'm up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Yeah. And I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. No, you're on pre-workout that you took at like 8, 9, 7 o'clock.
So it's a cycle, bro. And then on top of that, that's like how people get anxiety. I don't know, like
of course, it's all connected. Like you said, it's the chemical stress, and then that leads to physical stresses, and then all kinds of.
And then it's like a gateway drug going into the vaping and stuff like that. Yes. Like it's just a cycle. So then you get that anxiety, you can't sleep, and then you wake up, and then you're depressed because your chemistry in your brain is unbalanced because you've been fucking pumping it up with serotonin and dopamine and all these feel good hormones when you're on the pre-workout, and then when you have that crash, that's when you realize that you're depressed and shit. But it's because the chemicals aren't balanced, right? But here's the thing is that that's a man-made thing. So anything that's man-made is going to be volatile in the system, right? You know, like you'll have that big-ass jump in energy, and then you'll have that big-ass crash, yeah.
Great. And in this book, you deliberately spell disease a certain way, correct?
Dis-ease, right?
Put it right here for you.
Because people, I mean, I don't know if it's society as a whole, but usually people, when they think of disease, they think of like HIV or like multiple sclerosis, like something that you contract, right? In reality, a dis-ease is just a maladaptation to the body due to stress, right? So when your body is not at ease, it's dis-eased, right? So people they think of all these common things, but all the common diseases, but in reality it's just a dis-ease of the body, if that makes any sense. I go more in depth into it inside the book,
but with examples you would say, or like breaking it down. Cool. And then we already kind of went through the 3 different types of stresses, but you also mentioned to combat that the importance of rest and sleep. What recommendations can you give to someone to improve their quality and amount of sleep altogether? Like somebody that's chasing their goal. You're goal-driven right now. You're focusing on not just opening the office. Should be out by the time this episode comes out. Open. But so much writing the book. Practice.
So one big thing, and this is not something that you have to immediately jump into, but I'm more of like an analytical guy. I like to see data. I like to see the science of things, right? And I use this ring. It's called an Oura ring, right? Awesome. I have a cover on it right now, but basically you could see how it has these little prongs, and what it does is that it measures how well my body recovers when I'm sleeping. It tracks your sleep, how deep you get into sleep, the different phases of sleep that you go into, right? And it tells me how recovered I am, right? You don't really need this. Like you could just tell, you could like basically just tune in with yourself, check in with yourself, and see how you feel. I had
Whoop for 3 years. This is my first month not having Whoop anymore.
Yeah, so basically it's like a Whoop, but this one's more geared towards sleeping. The Whoop is more for like performance.
Everything else, but the thing is, I was using the Whoop for sleep. That's the biggest value that it brought to my life. Keeping track of my sleep. There'd be days where I'd get 8 hours of sleep and I'd wake up dead tired. Like, what's going on here? I look at my Whoop and I'm like, because my phone kept going off. The TV was on.
Right.
Next door neighbors were partying. Something.
It's like it could either take you too long to go to sleep, or it could be the phases of sleep that you're into. Like you're not getting enough deep sleep. You're not getting enough REM sleep. It all depends. The quality, because they all do a little bit of different things in the body. Some clean out the lymphatic system, which is the brain and stuff like that, which makes you like feel groggy if it's not cleaned out properly. Some of it just restores the body's muscle tissues from being broken down and from the stress hormones breaking it down. So if you're more of an analytical person and you want to dive straight in, definitely get an Oura ring or a Whoop or a Fitbit,
a device that
track stuff. And I talk about in the book of all the devices that I've experimented with and all the ones that you could use, but basically what you want to do from a foundational standpoint is just make sure that you're getting enough sleep, right? Make sure that you're getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep if you're performing and putting a lot of stress on your body. The more stress that you put on your body, the more you need. The more sleep you need, because that's when you recover. Let's see, we could go into the more scientific things of like wearing the blue light blockers or not drinking water before bed because
Blue light's awesome.
Yep.
That's great to mention.
Yeah,
that.
stuff like that.
Not drinking water before bed.
Yes, not drinking water before bed. So because
Crazy.
what would happen is because I would wake up in the middle of the night pissing like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
You know, and
Interrupts
that disrupts
your sleep.
it interrupts your sleep.
The quality of
and
sleep.
then you have to go through the whole entire cycle to get back into that deep sleep. And then you're gonna feel it the next day. You know, it's all the consequences. You're paying that price right then and there.
Well, I struggle with that. You know, I think it's drink water, but I learned recently it's like there's a 4-3-2 law or something like that. It's like 4 hours before bed, no blue lights. 3 hours no food, 2
Right.
hours no water, or something like that, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's crazy, all these different factors.
And another thing is like now that we're touching on water, the water intake.
Yes, you wanted to
Right.
get that
I
in.
want it. Yeah. So people think that, I mean, water is healthy for you. It's better than drinking Coca-Cola and stuff like that. But when you drink an excessive amount, it's just as bad as drinking too little. Right. So what happens is that your body has raw material that conducts electricity in your body, electrical stimulation in the body. Right. Electrolytes. There you go. You got it. So basically those electrolytes help you retain water because the electrolytes are basically like the raw material for the conductivity of the nervous system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in order for your body to send that signal from the brain to your hand or whatever it is,
you
need to be hydrated. Exactly. Yep.
Right.
And what happens is that people drink too much water, and what happens is it dilutes the mineral storage. So the minerals are electrolytes. Some of the minerals could be used as electrolytes, right?
Dilutes the mineral storage
Yeah.
because
Yep, because you're
overdoing
drinking.
it.
Yep, you're overdoing it.
So
because
you're overcreating?
no, you're not
Or-
overcreating. What you're doing is, so the minerals are the electrolytes. They help retain water. Okay. Now, if you're diluting, if you're basically spreading it thin, right? It's not going to be as potent anymore.
Because more water, you're like
dilute-
adding water to the
you're-
cocktail.
Exactly.
You're watering
Yeah.
it
So it's
down.
like if you put coffee in half a cup,
Yes.
and then you put water on top of it, you're going to dilute
Dilute it.
the
same
coffee.
Process,
Same process, right? So it dilutes the minerals, and then people start getting headaches. And I mean, I did this. I went through this when I was working at 24 Hour Fitness. I remember I did a little challenge with myself. I tried to drink 2 gallons of water within like 30 minutes. And within the first like gallon of water, I had the biggest freaking pounding headache that I've ever had in my life. And I felt weak. I felt my heart just like skipping beats. It's because the electrolytes, they were getting diluted, and it wasn't regulating my body the way that it was supposed to.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And
may
you
have
could
saved
even
a life
you
with this
could you
story.
could even be more dehydrated from drinking too much water.
Too much water.
Exactly.
That is incredible. I mean, yeah, I think they say that when people get lost at sea and stuff like that. That's a thing, they suffer from dehydration.
Yeah.
And you think, wow, you're in the water.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
nah. Wow. Okay. And so, what do you look at when a patient walks in? You kind of talked about it when I was getting adjusted, and that piece of content we're gonna put right here in
Yeah.
that video. But for the audience listening, what are some of the things you look for? And you do an assessment with each patient where you ask questions. What are you doing those questions for? What are you gaining out of that?
Yeah. So the first thing that it starts from a visual standpoint, right? You just notice how they walk in, the way that they are biomechanics, what they show, right? And then if they seem like relatively healthy, like they don't have any crazy trauma, then you kind of dismiss some of the questions, right? You ask the questions that are more pertinent, the questions that are more pertaining to that person, right? For you, like I already know kind of your history because me and you grew up together, right?
Right.
So I mean, I know that you've been in fights and accidents here and there and stuff like that. So I know a little bit, but nothing major has happened to the point where you've like severed your nervous
no
system and stuff
crazy
like that,
trauma,
your
blessed.
spinal cord, yeah. Right. So then I'll ask specific questions based off of that in order to get more information. The more information that I have, I'm like a detective, right? I'm trying to find where your interferences lie.
Great analogy.
You
I
know?
like that a lot.
So that's basically what chiropractic is. Like you first need to be a detective and find out what type of history does this person have that could be adding to whatever dis-ease they have in the body.
And you mentioned before we started rolling, you can't be everybody's chiropractor.
Yeah.
So what brought you to writing this book?
That's practically it. I wanted to write something where I could reach everybody. And why I said like I can't be everybody's chiropractor, it's I said it more in that specific context because sometimes you just don't mesh with everybody. Like, we're all humans at the end of the day. I'm not a robot.
It's
like,
a
I can't.
chemistry thing.
It's a chemistry thing. Right. Right. But from a logistics, like a barber. From a logistical standpoint, though, like, I can't be everybody's chiropractor. Right.
Exactly. Realistically.
So I wanted to write something for people to have the foundation of health. So in the book, I have like an assessment for people to find out, like, ask themselves questions, like those pertinent questions, to see where they lie on that spectrum of health.
Self-analyze. Right? Amazing. That's awesome. Self-assess yourself.
So
That's
there's
really cool.
like a foundation, there's a recreational, and then there's people like me that are a little bit crazy and they want to like dive into all the science and they want that extra edge. There's stuff in there. So the book is laid out that way. Like it talks about, let's say, for example, it talks about sleep, right? And then at the end of the chapter, it talks about all the practical things that you could do based off the assessment that we did. So let's say you're somebody that you're on the poor spectrum of health, right? Let's say you're in major dis-ease of the body. Then you would start off in the foundational things, the things that's going to give you 80% of the benefit, right? Like the big rocks,
right?
The ones that really count, right? Which is the foundational things: sleeping, nutrition, and exercise, right?
Yes.
Then you go into like dialing things in, doing supplements and stuff like that. Like, that's all at the end of the spectrum. Yeah, add-ons, right? Because the main goal of this book is to make somebody as resilient as possible, right? We live in a society where everything is toxic around us, right? So we're basically like, we're set up for failure, you know? That's why it's called from surviving to thriving, right?
Barely surviving.
And it's like the reason why it has the picture of like the desert is because when you're in the desert, you're basically out there trying to survive, right? But the more resilient you are, the longer you'll be able to thrive in that environment. And that's why it's that picture of the book.
And you made a great point earlier too, where it's like the quality of life you're living. Like, yes, you can live a long life, but how are you going to get to a long life?
Yeah, because if I'm going to be in a hospital bed or in any type of like home in pain from like 80 to 100, what's the point of living, right? Yeah, you want that quality of life. You want that lifespan of being to 100 years old, but you want that health span as well. You want that quality within those years.
Facts.
Right? And that's the big reason why like I write this book, because everybody could live to 120 from a biblical standpoint. Like, that's what we're designed to live to. Some people have lasted a little bit longer, and then there's centenarians that live up to that age, right?
Yeah.
And you look at the habits, and it's all foundational things. It's nothing crazy. It's not all these supplements. It's not all these injections. It's not all this Botox and this and that. It's all inside.
Yeah, some centurions smoke cigarettes and everything. And drink wine.
Yeah,
and
but it's because their habits around that.
Everything else, exactly.
Yeah, compensate for it.
They allow them to do that. Exactly.
And it goes back to the emotional stress. Like, yeah, that's having a chemical stress on the body, right? But maybe they're always happy because they're always around family. They're always drinking and hanging out with friends and stuff like that.
So gangster, bro. I just read Andrew Huberman say that recently this weekend. He was like, there's this big misconception with alcohol being bad for you. Understand that if, yes, one drink is maybe not necessarily the most healthy thing for you, but if going out with your friends to have that one drink adds, serotonin and gets your mind off things and gets that stress level down.
Right.
There's so many health benefits attached to going out and having a drink, and it blew my mind. It's like, wow, it's true, because it's not all negative thing going out and having fun. Like there's times where I guilt trip myself. I should be editing. I should be focused. I should be going to sleep early. But it's like, no, I come out inspired. I come out, wow, this felt great and more reinvigorated. Like, I'm not gonna go out for another month now. I feel great. I got what I needed. But there's no way that's a negative.
It's an emotional reset, basically, is what it is. But what I want people to take away from that is that you don't have to go all out when you go out, for like, no pun intended, right? Yeah. When you go out, you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to get shit-faced. Like,
moderation.
Dude, have moderation. Just have a drink. Have 2 drinks. Have 3 drinks. But just chill out. Like, you don't have to go crazy with it, right?
Exactly.
Because then the next day, then you'll be in a prime position to be able to perform and have that demand that you need, right? So that's the biggest thing, is that that emotional stress gets relieved. But maybe like you're doing, smoking cigarettes or drinking a little bit. It's no big deal, right? But that goes back to being, how resilient are you, right? Because if you're someone sick and you have 1 drink, that shit may put you out. But if you're not if you're resilient enough, you could have those 2 to 3 drinks and you can rebound.
Earn it. Exactly.
You earned it.
Facts.
And that's what I want to get people to. It's like, you don't have to be obsessed with health like I am, but you could get to a certain level, right? Let's say you optimize yourself to 100%. or like 99%, it doesn't matter, right? You don't have to be crazy and neurotic like I am, right? Then you could go out and let's say your health drops a couple points, a couple percentages, right? You still have that wiggle room at the end of optimal where you could bounce back right away, right? And that's the whole point of this book, is just being as resilient as possible.
Incredible. What was the hardest thing about writing this book and putting it together?
Well, I suck at writing. Let's just start off with that. So, luckily we have technology nowadays. I would just basically like talk to my recorder and have it put things down into text, like voice to text.
Yeah, to
transcribe it. And I would just lay down all my thoughts. And then I would use ChatGPT to like section it.
Wow.
Yeah, I would use ChatGPT to section it.
Incredible.
And then I would just expand upon those subsections, right? And then once I had all the substance in there, I used ChatGPT to lock in the grammar and just refine everything, basically.
Yeah, refine it.
So basically, like I technically wrote the book by speaking and typing here and there whenever I didn't feel like speaking out loud because I was around somebody or something like that.
Incredible.
I would like text some things, but all the proper grammar and stuff like that is in there because of ChatGPT, straight up.
Crazy, dude.
But it's all legit thoughts. Like everything that is in that book is stuff that I've experienced, is stuff that I've experimented with, and luckily, like a process like this is a 300-page book. So imagine,
digestible.
It's digestible.
That's a big thing.
But it also takes a long time to write.
Okay, yeah. So how many years?
So I mean, usually like writers, it takes to write a 300-page book. It usually takes them like over a year to write.
How long did it take you?
It took me 5 months.
5 months. Okay,
5 months.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's because I was just voice texting the whole entire most of the time. Like I would say 60 to 75% of the time.
Nice.
Voice texting, and then refining it all with ChatGPT.
When you're voice texting, though, you're not just freestyling. You have an idea. Do you have like have notes? This is what I want to talk about.
I have like an outline.
An outline that you're going off and you're talking about.
Yep.
Okay,
and then I'm just voicing my thoughts on those certain things. And then sometimes I'll be in the gym and like all I can think about is just like thoughts that come to the book and like things that I experience inside and outside the gym.
I know.
And I'm just like, fuck, let me get my phone and just record some shit and do that. It was the good thing is that during this time, it was all about the book. I didn't have a job at the time. This is right when I came out of school.
Wow.
And I had some issues with the board giving me my license from like being locked up before and stuff like that. So like they go into your history and they try to see like, okay, why has this person been in jail before, right? So they take their sweet ass time to try to give you your license, even if it's like some petty ass shit, right?
Yeah, it's a process.
So I had 5 months where I just focus strictly on the book.
That's unique though, to have a stretch of time like that, to be able to just 100% focus on one thing. No school, no work, nothing. It's just one thing. That's incredible.
And it's also a leap of faith. Let me say that, because at that point in time, like I'm straight out of school, I have $300K in debt, and I don't have a job, so I have no income coming in. I'm already a frugal person as it is. Like I'm very wise with my money, right? And like at this point in time, you have to be extra wise. Like you gotta freaking count every penny, because you don't have income. You know, like you're used to going from student loans to hoping to get a job, but like you don't get a job for 5 months because of the license. You know, so at this time I'm just like, dude, let me just put all my energy and effort. Like God's gonna provide, and dude, He did.
Surviving was the hardest part about writing the book.
Pretty much.
It's crazy, man. Okay. And any plans to do a follow-up book?
Yeah. I actually want to do a follow-up book about money.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not really
I'm more of a nothing health related. Yeah. I mean, it's because finances is a big stress to people.
Exactly.
Right. So essentially, indirectly, it is about health. You know.
That's crazy.
And that's something that I've always
financial health.
Financial health. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's going to be the next thing.
What are your thoughts around that right now? Like, what do you talk about?
One is like first getting out of debt completely, right? Getting out of debt. Then first, before anything, is like you need to find what that moneymaker is, where that income is coming from. Like you got to find something that you're really passionate about and derive income from that one thing and put your whole heart and soul into it. Like one mistake that I always had growing up is that I would always try to do different things, right? And then my hands would be in so many different pockets. And then I can't focus on that one thing that's really going to move the needle in my life. you know. And like right now, it's chiropractic for me, right?
That's what it was.
Like this book doesn't really make money.
This is an extension of that. This is just
like I didn't even do this book for the money. Like I make every time somebody buys this off of Amazon, I make like $5-6, like something stupid. And
this is for the community. This is to give back.
This
to
this is
the game.
for the people that, because the thing is that adjustments are going to change someone's state in the short term, and it'll change their life in the long term, right? But it takes time. There's other things that you could be doing, other foundational things that are in the book, right? And that's what I wanted to do with this book, is that I wanted to have people change other habits of their life that's also going to move the needle.
Yeah. Great way to put it.
But back to the finances, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest stresses on people's backs.
You're telling me about it.
And that's I've always been money minded. Like, you know me in high school, like always like into businesses. POP. You used to see me like come in the suits for the Organo Gold.
Got the picture.
But yeah, that's just the next step. I'm more of a business oriented person, and I want people to see that as well, and how that affects their health. But the health is the foundation, because without health you don't have shit.
It's crazy.
Without your temple you don't have anything.
What's a big thing you see people doing nowadays that hurts their health? Like, what's a big common thing? Like, you mentioned vaping earlier. I feel like that's a huge
Dude, that
epidemic.
is terrible.
I see people vaping. I'm like, bro, just go smoke a cigarette like a man. Like, just it's low key. It's crazy to say that something's worse than cigarettes, but it's so much worse.
I'll tell you something that's worse than everything that we've discussed so far.
Oh, please don't.
Mental state.
Yes.
It all starts right here. All here. Everything your body is an expression of your brain. It's just an extension of it, right? Like, your eyes are connected to it. Everything in your body is ran by your brain. Your mental state is what makes you do certain things. It makes you have certain habits, right? So if you don't have the proper mindset, like what we were talking about earlier, is you could give everybody all the game that they need, but if they don't want it for themselves, they're not gonna do shit.
Horse to the water.
You know, horse to the water, exactly. So people's mental state, they don't have the bigger picture in mind, and that's the issue. They're thinking more of the short term instead of the long term. I'm thinking more of like 80 years, 90 years. Whenever I have grandkids, I want to be able to play with my grandkids on the floor and stuff like that. 100%. Your body needs to be mobile for that. People nowadays, if they're 40 plus,
just riding roller coasters, bro. One of the saddest things in my life. And it's pretty telling. Like, looking back on the story now, it's a huge reflection on my life. And like, I should have been more courageous growing up, and I wish I wasn't, because my parents used to take me to theme parks all the time, and I hate looking back on it, because I was scared of like rides that flipped. My parents would spend X amount of dollars to take me to Universal, and bro, we'd wait hours in the line, bro. And I'd chicken out from riding the whole, bro. And it wasn't until I got to like middle school that I finally started riding rides with flips, and now I'm an adrenaline junkie. I love it. Yeah. But my parents, they don't ride rides for one reason or another. My dad has heart conditions. My mom just doesn't feel safe, and it's like, I missed out so many memories riding with my parents on roller coasters. And guess what? I was in baseball teams. My dad would take the baseball teams to ride the rides, and like, I got to be there on the sidelines watching my friends ride the roller coasters with my dad. And it's like, damn. Yeah. I look back on it like crazy, so I don't want to put my kid in that position, like in the future. Like, I'm, I want them to raise them to be courageous, to not be scared in the beginning. But hey, bro, if you're gonna take you to be 40, 50 years old to ride a roller coaster, I want to be here. I'm still riding.
Right. You want to be able to do that with them.
Exactly, dude.
That's the bigger picture, right? But
it's the why.
In order for you to do that, like, you need to nourish yourself. You need to pour into yourself. Like, and people like always think that I'm selfish, but in reality, it's like, if you don't have enough to pour into people, right, then are you really selfish?
Yeah, I don't know if Diddy really told Biggie, but in the movie, he goes, Biggie, you can't change the world if you can't change yourself. Exactly. How can you help the world if you can't help yourself?
Exactly. You got to pour into yourself first, so then you can pour into other people, and I talk about that in the book.
Okay, yeah, so before we do the big three, I was going to do cereal, but I don't want to put bad things out there, but I know you used to love cereal. Early life. That was
dude, I used to live off cereal, bro.
What are your cereals?
Dude, I used to play video games till like 3 or 4 in the morning. I would hit myself when I would get hot. Bowls. I would spill over the bowls. I would eat Captain Crunch. Raging. I would eat Fruity Pebbles.
What kind of Captain Crunch? Because they have flavor strains.
Shit, I don't remember, bro.
They have
But
the original crunch. They have peanut butter crunch. They have the fruity crunch.
No, it was just the original one.
Okay.
The original one. Yeah, I think it was like the corn one. I don't remember.
The one that hurts the roof of your mouth. A little
Yeah.
bit. Fire.
The gritty one.
Yeah, that pain is the best.
Yeah.
That's just fire.
Yeah. Dude,
fire.
no.
So Captain Crunch, what would you say after Captain Crunch?
Captain Crunch, Fruity Pebbles.
Fire, Fruity Pebbles. Fire.
Cocoa Puffs.
Cocoa Puffs is fire.
Yeah.
Chiropractor. Did you ever like Rice Krispies?
Are you sponsored by a
no,
cereal
I don't have
company?
a cereal sponsor yet. No, that'd be great. No, we're just having a conversation with my dog. Okay. I was gonna, because we do the big three every episode. We have a draft where we draft different things. So originally I thought about drafting cereal, but I was like, nah, my dog's a doctor. He wants to. I'm not gonna promote this, vitriol.
Dude, I'm a fucking carnivore, bro.
That's what that's the draft I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to do best sources of protein. We're gonna draft three best sources of protein, but whatever you say, I can't say. So it's a draft, So.
Okay.
So like.
I don't really know what a draft is.
So are you familiar with like fantasy football?
Yes.
Okay, if somebody picks up Patrick Mahomes, you
gotcha.
can't have him on your team
Okay.
So we're gonna draft.
Gotcha. I didn't know
three
it was that
best
type of
sources of
draft.
protein.
Yeah.
Whether protein shake, that's it. Oh, you
Gotcha.
gotta take that off the board.
Yeah.
Steaks, we gotta take that off the board.
Gotcha.
We're not
Okay.
gonna differentiate steaks. Steaks is just steaks.
Yeah.
So salmon's pretty fire too. But anyways, guest goes first. What's your number one pick?
Ribeye.
Ribeye. So we get steaks in general.
Right.
That's just great.
I mean,
a nice steak.
You want the source of it to be good. You want high quality source, grass fed, grass finished, pasture raised from a regenerative farm. So basically, it's a farm that the ecosystem is set up in order for the nutrients to be as healthy as possible, because the animals are eating that nutrients, right? And you are what you eat, right? So if you're eating shitty food, if the animals are eating shitty food, then the meat quality is going to be bad, right?
Yep.
So that's basically why I'm saying like pasture raised, regenerative farm where they take care of the land and stuff like that.
Crazy. Okay. Salmon. I'm gonna get salmon. Salmon's a good
Salmon. Okay. Potatoes.
Potatoes. Yeah. Straight potatoes, general.
Whichever potato. So
high in protein.
No, not high in protein. High in carbs, but it's one of the most satiating foods with the most amount of nutrients in it. So there's two foods that you could live with, and only eat those two foods: is steak and potatoes. They have the most nutrients, and they're both the most satiating food. Satiating is like how filled up you get from eating it. So protein is satiating for the body. So you could have like 30, 40 grams of protein and you'll be filled for a pretty good amount of time. If you just have, let's say, freaking olive oil or peanut butter or some sort of fat or some like rice cakes or stuff like that, like, bro, your body's going to digest that in like 2 seconds, right? Protein takes a little bit longer to digest. And it's going to stick there for a longer time. So it's going to be more satiating. So you're not as hungry.
Jesus Christ, that's incredible.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be informative during these drafts.
You laugh. No, that's what we do here on the Heir Cast. You're learning, you laugh. It's the best, bro.
All
Please. Right. My second pick's gonna be, I'm gonna go to like the whey protein situation, because like milk, like protein shakes, what's the proper terminology I'm looking for? Is this like
protein
man-made
shake,
protein?
Like protein shake,
whey
protein?
Yeah, I think that's a good alternative, and I look at it like a tool. When I first got out of high school, I was heavily on it. I got into good shape, and I got off it recently, and then now I got back on it again. So now now that I'm trying to eat 200 grams of protein a day, it helps. I get 60 grams of protein in a shake. And I could switch it up every day.
Right. You feel pretty full for a good amount of time,
exactly.
Right?
It's satiating. Yeah. It holds me down for a good amount. Until it's time to force myself to eat a meal again too. It's good. I think it's a good tool that a lot of people get scared. Like a lot of people are like, I don't want protein. I don't want to feel bloated. But it's like it's a meal, and it's like if you're trying to lose weight, if you have goals, like this is a great.
What do you put in your protein shake? So you put whey and what else?
Chia seeds. Chia seeds, and then
so you're definitely satiated. Because the chia seeds, they expand.
Yeah, and I'll let it rock there. I'll let it marinate for a little bit, do a couple chores, make a couple phone calls, and then I'll drink it. And then I'll just switch it up with the fruit. Sometimes I'll do a banana, half a banana. Sometimes I'll add some different fruits in there just to keep it interesting.
Yeah. Mix it up.
Yeah. But it's great tool. I think that's fire. And what's your third pick?
All right, so kiwi.
Kiwi, wow.
Yeah.
Somebody just told me about this yesterday. I think that they eat kiwis before going to bed or something.
Yeah, because it releases certain chemicals in the brain and it allows you to just calm down. It's serotonin or I think it is serotonin. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It releases, and dude, you have 2 kiwis right before bed, knocked out.
Okay, that's crazy.
And fire dreams.
Yeah. Helps dreams. Helps REM sleep.
Well, I don't know. I mean, everybody's different. When
better quality.
Yeah, better quality sleep
to better dreams, right? You remember your dreams.
So I gave everybody from different sections, right? Because I didn't want it just to be straight meat. So steak, potatoes, and kiwi.
This guy's a gangster, bro. It's the best. Okay, yeah, and then fine. I'm not sure if your kiwis with. I think bananas are really powerful, bro. Bananas.
Oh, I'm gonna put you on
hydrate
game real quick. So this is more for like neurotic people like me that are like very dialed into things. But so your body, as you age, it tends to like rust, right? It's called oxidation in the body, right? And bananas have this enzyme in it that makes the that basically what does it do? It breaks down the oxidation process, right? So when you have blueberries or like phytonutrients like compounds. No, oxalates is terrible stuff. Yeah.
Oxidants.
Yeah. Oxidants. Oxidants. Yeah, like 'cause it oxidizes. It's like rust. Yeah. Deoxida. Yeah.
No, but like certain juices are marketed like, oh, these have oxidants in it.
Antioxidants.
Oh,
right.
Antioxidants.
Right. Because it breaks down the
Yes,
antioxidants.
antioxidants is what
Right.
I'm thinking of. Yes.
So then there's bananas. When you mix it with those antioxidants, it breaks down the antioxidant effect of it. So you could be like doing more harm than good sometimes by putting bananas into
mixing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, but this is like very like small things, very minute things. Like you're not gonna die from doing this or anything like that.
Bring the antioxidant factor in it. So
Yes.
mixing the banana with the berries is crazy.
It
So
like it like cancels that out.
you don't want to do like a
You
banana straw blueberry.
Nope.
That's bad.
Nope.
Wow.
You just want to do the banana itself. Yep.
Banana, yeah, switch it up. Just
Yeah,
one
if
day
you want
blueberry,
something
one day
sweet,
bananas.
like a sweetness to it, either honey, maple syrup, or
in the shake.
yeah, for sure.
That's crazy. I haven't tried that
Yeah,
yet.
I'm more on a syrup kick right now, but like honey does just as good, and honey's also good for like the bacteria in your gut.
You messing with agave?
I'll drink it if that's the only thing. I'll consume it if that's the only thing.
But it's more like a,
It's
yeah,
like a syrup,
like alternative to
yeah,
honey. Yeah,
it's like a syrup. So I'll do that. The thing with that is that it's mainly fructose, and if you have too much fructose, it converts into fat in the liver.
So what's the like what honey? What's like your go-to honey? That it's just raw honey,
Raw
like
honey.
bee honey,
Raw honey, yeah.
straight up
yeah.
bee honey.
Ideally, you want something local, right?
Okay.
Because then you'll be more adapted to the environment around you, because that's made in the environment for a
Wow.
reason.
That's so crazy to look at it like that.
Yep. That's why people have less allergies when they consume raw honey from their local area.
I'm gonna do that. You just blew my mind right
Mm-hmm.
now. That is crazy, dog. This guy's a genius. All right, D. Surviving from surviving to thriving
Yep.
out now. Everybody, please go get your copy. I already listened to the beginning of it, but I want to actually physically read it and digest it and do my notes and imagine. I'm gonna have him back on here to have a whole podcast, reviewing the book
dude,
and talking about it after. I cannot wait.
Yeah, we could talk for days.
But every episode, we ended with a message to the people, man. Of course, we have a lot of gems throughout this hour-long podcast, but what's a message you want to leave the people with today?
Back to the premise of the book is you want to take care of your health, because it's your biggest asset. It's an investment when you're choosing the right foods over the wrong foods, right? You're basically adding more time into your life. And that's the way I see it, more from like a money currency standpoint, right? It's energy that you're basically providing back into your life, right? Health is your biggest asset. You need to invest into it, because without your health, you can't have shit.
Your body is more than a temple. It's a corporation and a temple. Treat it as such. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Theme music.
Till I broke about my shell, then and when and